Thanks so much for connecting. Happy New Year to you. Pray you guys had a great first few days of the new year. I'm excited to be here. We're going to give it a couple minutes, give people time to connect with us. Good morning, Drika. Happy New Year to you. Good morning, Candace. Happy New Year to you. Good morning, Bridget. Happy New Year to you. Lucy, good morning and Happy New Year. Thank you guys so much for connecting with us this morning. I pray that you guys are excited about what the Lord is doing. Good morning, Anita. Happy New Year to you as well. Yeah, it's the remix, Gwen. Good morning. Happy New Year to you. Good morning, Tay. Happy New Year to you. Thanks so much for those of you who are just connecting with us. I'm going to give it about another minute or so, and we'll go ahead and get started. Britt Dunn, good morning to you. Good morning, Drayden. Mr. Robinson, good morning to you, fam. Happy New Year to you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And those who are joining us after we get started, they'll be able to be caught up to speed and the playback. Thanks so much for connecting with us again. Happy New Year to all of you guys. I pray that you guys are excited about this upcoming year, and that your excitement and hope is in God. Nonetheless, this year started off with a bang. Our condolences to the families and all those who are affected by the tragedy that happened on Bourbon Street on New Year's Day. Um, our hearts are just with those families. A horrific, horrific occasion. And so that tragedy was just really unimaginable. So we want to continue to pray for those families and all that were affected by that. Also, we have other things that are going on with the country. Some huge moves are being made in our country. I don't know if you've ever kept up with the economic developments of our nation. This is a time for you to do that more than ever before because we have some major changes coming. And so I want you guys to make sure that you keep your eyes open, ears open, educate yourself so that you can understand what some of these things mean. It may sound cryptic to you just listening over or listening to the media, but also do your own due diligence and search these things out so that you can understand what it may mean for you and your family. In addition to that, I want to continue. Those of you who were with me on New Year's Day, this will probably make more sense to you because I'm going to just expound on the overall message of what was shared on New Year's Day in our Outlook 2025. And so this morning, I have some scriptures in front of me that I'm looking at, and I don't know if I want to read these scriptures or just bring you up to speed. I think I'll just bring you up to speed. I don't want to bore you with reading to you. You could have read to yourself this morning. So I will not insult your intelligence nor your time by doing so. But this morning, the premise of what I'm getting ready to say can be found in the book of Joshua. Book of Joshua, the premise of what I'm getting ready to say. You can find it there. Good morning, Cam. So when we look at what happened in the book of Joshua, Joshua 1, the scripture is picking up right where after the death of Moses, right? After the death of Moses, the Lord began to speak to Joshua as he did Moses. He began to speak with Joshua, and he told Joshua while they were yet in the wilderness place, he told them to rise up and take all the people and go into the land that I've promised you. And he says, every place the sole of your feet shall tread upon, have I given it unto you, as I said unto Moses. And he's just affirming that this, the inheritance and the promise that was made is still active. The promise is still active. Make a note there. The promise is still active, but the promise will be forwarded to your generation at this point. And I shared that part of it, and there's some more I'm going to share about this in just a second. But what you have to understand is that we are entering into what I would call, listen, we're entering into what I would call the season of Joshua. The season of Joshua is very interesting, and it is interesting because of the nature of the season, the nature of the season. I want you to hear what I'm getting ready to say, and I want you to understand also for the remainder of our session this morning, these next few minutes we have, I want you to understand that I am prophetically speaking. So hear me and hear me by the Spirit. I am prophetically speaking as it relates to the season of Joshua. The reason why this season was so unique in its nature is because the season of Joshua is a give take season. You hear me? It's a give take season, and that is twofold. First is where the Lord will give opportunities and we have access, right, and responsibility by inheritance to take what he's given. It's a give take. And the other side of that is this is also a season where we give our all 100% of our engagement, our investments, or what have you, and we take the profits from that. We take the benefits of doing it. So it is a give take season. We are entering into a give take season. We won't always be in give take seasons, but I want you to understand that I believe personally by the Spirit of the Lord that we are entering into the season of Joshua, which is a give take season. What is quite different about this season that we're entering into is that when you consider the way that things have usually been acquired, you understand that there's a level of engagement that is very intense in nature. There's a level of engagement that will call for your fortitude and your strength. It'll call for your physical strength, mental strength, and spiritual strength. But in the season of Joshua, understand that as Joshua got ready to move into the promised land, which the first stop there was Jericho, understand the way the Lord gave this to them, the way he gave this promise to them. Listen to what I'm saying. They did not have to fight for this promise. You will not have to fight for your promise. Take your sword and your shield and sit it down. You're not going to have to fight for this promise. You will only have to be obedient to the instructions that God gives you in this season. Remember, I'm prophetically speaking. As the Spirit of the Lord lead you to do certain things, make sure that you are being obedient, because as you obey God, these things will be handed to you. We all know the story how that when the Lord spoke to Joshua and the children of Israel, and he told them, number one, to cross Jordan. And whenever they crossed Jordan, he gave them instructions on how to cross. He gave, right? And once he gave instructions, he told them to let the priests go before them with the Ark of the Covenant. And at the time that they were crossing Jordan, Jordan was overflowing. And the Bible says that whenever the priest's feet stepped in the waters rolled back. So they crossed over Jordan without having to cross over the overflow. It was a path made. And so they took, remember, give, take. They took the opportunity, they took the path that the Lord had given them, and they were able to cross over Jordan, entering into the outskirts of what has been promised. We're already here in 2025. We're already here in 2025. And so we have already crossed over. And when once the children of Israel, under the leadership of Joshua, once they entered into the outskirts of what has been promised, the Bible said that there was a holding period. There was a and when I say holding period, I mean there was a few days where the Lord gave them things to do to set them up to receive what he had been promised. Remember, for 6 days, he told them to be quiet, right? He said, be quiet, and all I need for you to do is walk around the city, walk around the walls of the city every day, one time. He gave them instructions the first day. They took the instructions, carried them out the second day, even until the sixth day. And on the seventh day, the instructions changed a little, because he didn't tell them to walk around one time. He told them to walk around 7 times. And on the seventh day, they walked around 7 times. And after the 7th time, he gave them more instructions. And he told them to shout. And they began to cry out in a praise to God. And the scripture says that the walls of Jericho came tumbling down the inhabitants of Jericho, for fear of their life, not knowing what was going on, they fled and they left all of their prosperity. So Israel was able to go into the land and spoil the land of its prosperity and to take ownership of the land. In other words, to conquer the land. So I'm saying that because in this season of Joshua, as we've entered into a new year, the instructions that the Lord is giving you right now is very important as it relates to what it is you will be able to conquer and possess in this year. What you will be able to conquer and possess. Remember, you're not going to have to fight for it because it's a give-take season. It's going to be given to you, but it's going to be given to you in the form of instructions and obedience. You will then liquidate the instructions, and you will liquidate your obedience into profits, rewards, and promises that are fulfilled. I hope you're following me. So you're going to be able to obey God. Your obedience, once it's liquidated, it will result in the promise, or it will manifest as the promise of the Lord or the inheritance of the Lord. And it will be something that would have been given to you by God, and you have the responsibility to take it. So once the walls came tumbling down from Jericho, Israel went in and they occupied the land. They conquered the land because it was given to them. And they understood that all I have to do is go in and take what God has been given or has promised our fathers. We don't have to fight for it, because the fight did not belong to them. Let me say this to you again, prophetically speaking. The prosperity and the wealth that is before us in this upcoming year, it is a prosperity and a wealth that will be given to us. It's not anything that you're going to have to fight for, because this was destined long before we got to 2025. This was going to happen. And so now all you are is the beneficiary of promises that have been made prior to you arriving where you are in your life. Now, this should be great news for those who have no problem obeying God, those who have no problem in their faith, those who have no problem understanding the power and the potential of God. This is good news for you, because you know that if God speaks it, he's able to bring it to pass. And you know that God is not slack concerning his promises. And you know that some of these promises have been long pending. But now the time has come for the Lord to manifest the power of his word and the power of his promises. And so what we have to be in a position to do and of the mind to do is we have to be of the mind to go and take what it is that the Lord is given to us, what it is that he's giving to us in this season, this now moment that we're in. This is the time. This is the time where you cannot use previous seasons as a reference, because this time is like none other. Joshua, what was so unique about the people that he was leading at this time is because this was a whole new generation and demographic of people. It was a whole new generation and demographic of people. These were not the fathers, their fathers. This was not their grandmothers, grandfathers. This was a whole new generation of people who were just barely adults. And so they began to come into the inheritance of their fathers, and based upon ways that was paved by those who had gone before them. They were able to enter in. And I'm telling you, there's been things that have been happening economically for some time now, for many, many years now, that's been leading up to this moment. And we're at a point in time where everything that has happened has led up to this moment that will ultimately manifest the promise of God before the people of God, or unto the people of God, should I've said. And so when when we get here, you cannot be slow. And when I say slow, I'm talking about slow to obey God. You cannot obey God out of fear. You have to obey God out of confidence, knowing that if the Lord is instructing me to do this, there must be a plan. There must be a purpose in this, a purpose that is greater than what I have any ideas about. I hope you're following me this morning. What's getting ready to happen now has more to do with who he is than it has to do with what I'm believing him for. Did you catch that? It has more to do with who God is than it has to do with what you're believing God for. The things that you believe God for, continue to believe God for. But God's going to give you some stuff that you were not even believing him for. And so when these instructions come, just like they came to Joshua and those that he was leading, they didn't make sense at first. It was foreign to them. Who goes in to receive a promise by walking around the walls of a city for a day? And so some of you, your instructions will seem kind of far-fetched, or it may not make all the sense in the world to you, but make sure that you have an ear to hear the Spirit of God and discern the voice of God whenever he's speaking to you and are prompting you. Understand this: God may not always speak to you. You may not have a dream where God will show you yourself doing something. Sometimes the way God communicates with us is through prompts. God will prompt you to do a thing. He will prompt you to do this or to do that. And as you follow the prompting of the Lord, then you will ultimately end up exactly where it is you're supposed to be. So if the Lord is prompting you to do a thing, do not shut it out and say, I don't know why I just got this inclination to do this or to do that. It don't make sense, so I'm not going to do it. No, don't do that. Follow out the prompts. Follow out the prompts the same way you do whenever you're working on your devices and you're trying to navigate through an application or filling out some electronic documents. Every time you finish a certain phase, you will get your next prompt. And so I'm telling you, for some of you, many of you, that's how the Lord will lead you into the promises that he has for you in 2025. Again, we are entering into what I call the season of Joshua. And this season, when we enter, as we enter into this season, as we have entered into this season, the prompts will ultimately cause us to land exactly where it is that we are supposed to land. While there will be turmoil on the inside of what we're trying to conquer, it's going to be for our benefit. Understand, Joshua and those that he was leading, they were on the outskirts, so they were not in the chaos that was going on inside of the city that they were getting ready to conquer. In other words, whenever you hear and you see all of these things that are being noised and talked about economically and nationally, even globally, don't you be concerned with that. You just make sure that you are still following the prompts, regardless of who is panicking, regardless of what or how chaotic it may be on the inside. Understand that God is blessing you, getting ready to bless you from the outside. It's not going to be an inside blessing. It's not going to be because you're going to go in and you're going to network with certain people and they going to give you. No, it's going to literally be handed over to you. It's going to be given to you. And when it's given, take it. You cannot be afraid to take it. That's the difference between investors and consumers. Investors, they give their investment and then they take their profits, right? Consumers, on the contrary, all they do is make sure that the investors are able to take a profit. That's what consumers are there for. They're there to make sure that investors are able to take the profits. And so what I'm saying to you is, don't buy everything that you hear in the news. Don't buy the fear of other people. Don't buy everything that is being noised around you. Don't buy that, because other people buying that is going to ensure that you're able to take profits. Why? Because you are not afraid, and you are not walking in fear, and you are not being led by your fear. I hope this is good to you. You're not being led by your fear. You understand everything that God has promised you, and you understand that this has been a long time coming, and you understand that for years and years and years prior to this moment, you have sown and you have made investments for the future, which is now. You've made investment for this now time, and it's time for you to take your profits. And so what you should be looking for, regardless of what the economic talk is, you should be looking for profits, because this is the time that you take your profits. Do not take any poverty that doesn't belong to you. Understand, when I say profits, I'm not only talking about money. I'm talking about generational wealth. I'm talking about peace of mind. I'm talking about wholeness emotionally, mentally, and I'm talking socially. I'm talking about being made whole from the inside out. I'm talking about prospering and being in good health as your soul prosper. I'm talking about all of these things. All of these things is what we're talking about now. And this is the season, this is the time that we enter into that. This is the time that we enter into that, because it's a give take season. The season of Joshua, it's a give take season. God's going to give you instructions, and you're going to take the reward or the profits after you have obeyed what God has instructed you to do. Every prompt will lead to the next release of the blessings of the Lord for your life. Did you hear that? Every prompt will lead to the release of the blessings of the Lord for your life. The blessings that God has intended for you to have. You follow out these prompts. And sometimes we have to be careful, because sometimes if you're on the World Wide Web and you're trying to get to a place, you get through the first few prompts, and then another prompt pop up, and you get weary, and you're like, I'm not going to do this right now. And you'll click out of it. Don't click out of this. This is not anything you should click out of. Follow the prompts through, because every prompt will release you to the next measure of blessings that the Lord has for you. And it's going to be important that you pace yourself while doing so. Please understand that when Israel came into all the promises that God had them, there was time. It took time for them to come into and take the profits and the promise that God had made for them. They had to take the wealth that God had given to them. And it took time, and it took them pacing themselves. And so I don't want you to live under the false pretense. Excuse me. I don't want you to live under the false pretense that by January 30th, then you're going to have everything that God has for you for the rest of your life. That's not the case. But I will tell you, by January's end, if you're following these prompts, you will have released the next measure of blessings that the Lord has for you. And ultimately, you're going to obey your way into prosperity. Did you hear that? You will obey your way into the prosperity of the Lord. You will obey your way into generational wealth. But you're going to have to make sure that you are not doing it in fear, but doing it in confidence. There are things that you will have to confidently possess. And if you are not confident in your possession of them, then you will be talked out of anything that you're not confident about. I'll give you an example. If you've ever gotten dressed to go somewhere and you laid your clothes out the night before, like the first day of school, right? You laid your clothes out, and when you had it laying out on the bed, you knew that you was gonna kill him when you put this outfit on. And whenever you get dressed and you go and you ask somebody in the house, a housemate, you ask them, "Hey, how does this look?" They be like, "Do you have a different color shirt?" And that kills your confidence in it. And at that point, you begin to question your whole ensemble. And many times you'll end up going in and changing out your outfit, and sometimes to a completely different outfit. And the reason why you were able to be talked out of what you had prepared is because you didn't have the confidence that was necessary. I hope you hear me. You didn't have the confidence that was necessary for you to be able to confidently walk in what you had prepared to wear. It's the same thing spiritually. If you are not confident in what you're getting ready to walk in, you will be able to be talked out of it. And you will be influenced by society, and you will be influenced by negativity and the whispers that are contrary to the promises and the word of the Lord over your life. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. You just wasting your time. That's not going to happen. It's going to take too long. By the time you get there, then it'll be over. Maybe you should have did it earlier. Maybe it's too late. You'll be talked out of it. And if your confidence levels are not where they're supposed to be, then you'll be talked out of it. That's why the scripture says, "Cast not away therefore your confidence. It has great recompense of reward," which means it's going to ensure, it's going to back up your reward. Your confidence is what is going to ensure and back up the reward that comes from your obedience to God according to his promises. But take the prompts. Again, I'm telling you, God will not speak to everyone. And not that he doesn't. I'm just saying, if you're waiting to hear something from the Lord, if you're waiting on a prophecy or a dream or somebody come to give you a word of knowledge or insight, then you may miss it. It's going to be a prompting in your spirit. And now watch this. The way that you'll know it's a prompting in your spirit, because a prompting is always a to-do and not an idea. Did you catch that? A prompting is a to-do and not an idea, not just a thought. You'll have the inclination to do something. You'll have the urge to do something all of a sudden. And many of you, God has already begun to prompt you with certain things, and you probably started in those things, those promptings at sometime in 2024. And again, stick with the promptings, because it's going to release the next measure of blessings that the Lord has for you. This season that we're in right now will definitely be one of the most impactful seasons moving forward as it relates to the change that is before us. Remember on New Year's Day, I said that change has been accelerated. The speed of change has been accelerated. So things are going to happen a lot faster than what it normally take. And what would normally take years to manifest may manifest in months. And what normally would take months to manifest could manifest in weeks. And what normally take weeks to manifest could manifest in days. And what normally take days to manifest could manifest in hours. And those things that would take hours to manifest, they could manifest in minutes. And you don't want to miss this time in your life. You don't want to miss this time in your life, because these promises that are being released right now, they are very personalized. I want you to hear me when I say that these are personalized. They're personalized. So you cannot become so caught up in the general public of appearance. You cannot be so caught up in that, because everyone may not see what you see, and everyone may not get the same prompts that you're getting. So if someone else is getting a different prompt from the Lord, don't you forsake your prompt to start carrying out somebody else's prompt, because you may not be operating within the same app or software, if you will. You could be operating somewhere else. And as much as we want to give each other the cheat sheet, understand that you don't live life by a cheat sheet. Each experience, each life experience is unique within itself. So your experience is unique to you and your destiny. It's unique to you and who God has created and designed and purposed you to be. So follow your prompts. And if the Lord lead you to share your prompts with others, then by all means share it. But don't be stuck. Don't become stuck by the prompts of other people. And don't you forsake the prompts that the Lord has given you, because in the season of Joshua, it will not make sense to everybody what you're doing. If Joshua had had a meeting with the people that he was leading and said, okay, this is how we're going to get our promise. We're going to walk for 6 days. On the seventh day, we're going to walk. We're going to walk a lot more than we do the first 6 days. And then we just going to shout. We're going to scream. And we're going to take the promise like that. They would have been like, man, that don't make no sense. That does not make sense at all. I'm sorry, I'm not with it. You're going to have to give me something more than that. But because he understood that what God was getting ready to give him, it was not necessarily time to fight. He didn't prepare them for a fight. He prepared them to obey. And if you go back and you read the last couple of chapters before Joshua 1, you'll see that what Joshua was doing was preparing them to obey God, to follow the prompts. He was not preparing them to war. This is the reason why you don't hear me telling you, you got to get ready to go into spiritual warfare, and you got to bind what's getting ready to happen in our government, and bind the wars and the rumors of wars. And I'm not saying all that, because I don't believe that part of it is our interest or responsibility. It's not our interest, that part of it. What is ours is to follow the prompts of God in and through our obedience. So make sure that you are following these prompts, and understand that in the season of Joshua, it is a give-take season. It's a give-take time of the Lord in your life, where God will give you instructions and you will obey them, and then take the reward of your obedience. Take the promise based upon your obedience. It's a give-take. Somebody put that in the chat real quick. It's a give-take season, the season of Joshua, that is. And I believe that we're entering into that same type season as believers. We're entering into that same type season. And God is if you go back and you read Joshua chapter 1, you'll see that God was very specific about what he was going to give them. And the things that he said he was going to give them, he did give them absolutely. And there was nothing lacking concerning what he had promised to give them. They got it all. And I'm saying you have to make sure that you are here to get it all. You've come to get it all. You're not here to get some of it. And don't be so impressed by the beginning of your blessing until you miss the middle and the end of it, because the latter is always greater than the former. And I want you to understand that God desires for you to experience the whole blessing this time. He wants you to receive the whole promise this time. In previous seasons, we've all experienced, well, God will begin to bless us, and then the blessings kind of fade away. But this is not that season. This is where God's going to give us the entire blessing, the whole thing he means for you to possess, and he means for you to experience. Oh my God, we're just about out of time. Whew. Man, I hope you guys, I hope you guys are receiving this. I hope that you are being discerning with the things that I'm sharing, because if you're being discerning, then your spirit will bear witness to everything that I'm saying. Everything. It is a give-take season, and God is giving to you the pathway. He's opening up the path. He's given to you the promptings for you to obey, to release your next level of blessing. Again, just like whenever you are following the prompts on a web page to get to where it is you got to go, you don't get to the next page until you create or complete the previous prompts. And you follow those things through, and what happens? Suddenly, the next page appears, the next prompt appears. And this is how you are going to complete the blessing. I don't want you just to release the blessings of the Lord. I want you to receive them, is what the Lord is saying. I don't want you to know that I promised land to your fathers that now will be given to you for an inheritance. I don't want you to know it. I want you to possess it. I want you to receive it. And many of us have known for some time that there were blessings that the Lord had for us, and there were things that the Lord had promised us. And we've known it, and it's just not enough to know in this hour, because generational wealth doesn't come by you knowing it exists. Generational wealth comes by possessing it. Are you listening to me? It comes by you possessing it. It doesn't come by you knowing it. The blessings of the Lord is not based upon what you know, it's based upon what you're in a position. You have the faith and the confidence to receive. Listen, I hope that I've inspired you. It's the top of the year, you guys, and I promise you, we are going to finish this year in a better place. And let me say this, I don't know how many of you guys took notes and are following the prophecies from Outlook 2025. Less than 24 hours after I gave the prophecy about the Lord quieting this world one nation at a time, I told you guys I didn't know what that would look like. And I told you I didn't know whether it was going to be like the COVID pandemic or something different. I didn't know if it was going to happen to the world at once or if it will sporadically happen. But less than 24 hours later, China declared a state of emergency as they have a outbreak with a new virus that is moving a lot more swiftly than COVID. I think it's HMPV. HMPV. It is released. The crematories over there are overwhelmed because the amount of people that are dying, and the hospitals are overflowing. They have again instituted social distancing over there. And remember, 5 years ago, it was around the same time of year that the COVID outbreak really began to spread 5 years ago. Here we are 5 years later. And if that comes, I don't want you guys to forget everything that I'm saying right now, because I want to remind you, whenever COVID happened, it allowed people to prosper in ways that they had never been able to prosper before. More first-time millionaires were made during that season, during that time. And as short as that time was, it seemed like forever when we were going through it. But that was really a short amount of time, a year and a half or so, a couple years. And there were people whose lives have been changed forever, and people have been able to establish generational wealth. Well, the reason why I'm saying this is because even if, and I'm not saying that that's it, and that's what the Lord was speaking of. And I'm not saying that it's going to affect our nation, but I'm saying even if, just understand that this is still the perfect opportunity for the Lord to place you in position to receive the promise. Just follow the prompts. Don't be afraid of anything that you may see. Do not walk in fear. Remember, I also said, Outlook 2025 on January 1st, I also said that there will be a spill of prosperity, and prosperity will spill over and flow into places that it will not normally flow in, which is the same thing that happened during COVID. I've said it from the beginning. I said it right now today. COVID don't owe me nothing because God blessed me in that season. As challenging and as trying as it was, the Lord blessed me. I lost family members through that season, but the Lord blessed me. So follow the prompts and not fear. Don't follow fear. Follow the prompts. Make sure that you understand that you're in a give take season, which we're referring to as the season of Joshua. I hope I said something to inspire you and to encourage you. I want you guys to go and be blessed. Prepare. Many of your guys' week and holiday vacation is ending on tomorrow, so you'll be getting ready to go back to school, work, whatever it is that you do. Go back in this with the confidence, understand, remember, and recall as often as possible the things that you've heard today. If you have to go back and watch this video after the playback is posted, make sure that you go back and you watch this video again. Before we get off, I want to encourage you to give. I want to encourage you to go and make donations today. Those of you who may not know how to make your donation, reach out to myself or whomever have given or shared this link with you. They'll be able to tell you how to do it. That's through Apple Pay, Zelle, PayPal, Cash App, however, but go and make a donation today. And I want to challenge you to whatever it is that you're going to give today. Let it be significant. Let it mean something. Let it reflect how much it is that you believe in what God is saying and what God is planning to do in your life in this year. Thank you guys so much for being with us on this morning. I pray that you have the greatest week ever. We're off to a new beginning. It's the top of the year. Let's go get this. I love you guys, and I will see you all next week. Speak life, it is a new day. All things in my past, yeah. Welcome to the new year. Me step out in faith and no fear. Blessings go find me, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I miss if ever gonna find me here. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Money gonna find me here. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I miss the blessings gonna find me here. Oh na 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 na. Me claim it, all of my blessings, me name it. With faith, me I go own it. Nothing shall get home it. Speak life, it is a new day. All things in my past, yeah. Welcome to the new year. Me step out in faith and no fear. Blessings go find me, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I miss if ever gonna find me here. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Money gonna find me here. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I miss the blessings gonna find me here. Oh na 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 na. Me claim it, all of my blessings, me name it. With faith, me I go own it. Nothing shall get home it. Speak life, it is a new day. All things in my past, yeah. Welcome to the new year. Me step out in faith and no fear. Blessings go find me, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I miss if ever gonna find me here. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Money gonna find me here. Oh yeah. Blessing and Godspeed. See you guys.